Are you a self-made person? Are you the one determining who you are and how you see the world? Are you an agent of change in our culture? An agent of change for the better?
We modern folks like to think we're our own person, our own self-made person, rather than the product of our culture. We largely deny that the influences of the media or the breakdown of the family have impacted us personally. Even those who complain most loudly about their terrible childhood seldom question the attitudes and assumptions that will ensure they inflict the same turmoil on their own families. We can't see ourselves. We can't see our own baggage. We can't see the self-destructive beliefs we have accepted. No reasonable person would argue that they would be the same person they are today if they had been born 100 years ago, or born on some remote mountaintop, or born to a family of terrorists. However, most cannot perceive that they have been radically shaped by the culture they indeed do live in. In other words, we accept such unfamiliar surroundings would radically change who we are, while at the same time denying that the actual culture we live in is radically affecting who we are, what we value, and how we perceive reality. We are truly blind to seeing our own culture for what it is, or seeing what our own culture is doing to us.
Do you believe you can make a difference in this world? Do you realize you do make a difference? That what you think and do ripples out, affecting people in all directions, reaching out farther and longer than you could ever imagine? Is your behavior an agent of change for the better?
As we deny the effect our culture has on us, we likewise deny the effect we have on one another. We insist our own choices are our own, that they affect us and no one else, and we insist on this, though we have all witnessed how the rude behavior of one person can negatively affect everyone he comes in contact with, spreading anger and frustration far and wide to people and places that don't even cross his path. We have likewise witnessed how a gentle smile and courtesy can disarm such a fellow, how these can send out ripples of calm concern, of generous giving to people and places that never encounter this person. Everything we do has an impact on those around us and on greater society. Everything. We may argue that any given act has but an infinitesimal effect. But in the broad reaching domino effect, even that we cannot say with any certainty. There are thousands of turning points in any person's life. Your action may speak to the heart of someone on the edge of despair, someone doubting that love even exists. That one person might influence millions in his lifetime, and that influence might be tipped, one way or the other, by you. And once we truly see the impact we have, and thus the responsibility we have, we certainly must realize how much our family depends on us for how they experience life, for how they see goodness and hope rather than indifference and despair. We must certainly realize the time we spend with our spouse and children is vital, and the potential it has for making their lives fuller is frankly immeasurable. We must realize that making them a priority will be a lasting blessing to them and to their children for many generations, the greatest of calm, giving ripples, if we will work for it. Likewise, if we don't make them our priority, if we don't make ourselves a gift to them, a gift of love and generosity, those ripples too fill lives and make their emptiness felt through the generations, as we can see all around us.
If you could see a better way, a path toward a fuller life for those around you, a path for positive influence in your community and culture, would you let anyone stop you from choosing that path? Would you listen to their doubts and even ridicule? Would you give in to these simply because it is so very much easier than indeed taking this path less traveled?
Of course, perceiving the problem of this culture is only the beginning. Glimpsing the truth will require you to change the way you think and behave, while the whole world shouts you down. As you try to improve your life and that of your family, nearly all, many who suppose they agree with you, will shout that it's impossible, or that you're going way too far, to the extreme. These same fatalist voices will encourage divorce at the first sign of struggle rather than encourage you to persevere, rather than reminding you that 85% of couples who persevere will describe their marriage as happy within 5 years. These same fatalist voices will ever urge you to take the easy way out. When your children are getting into trouble, they will quickly point the finger of blame at the school or some new mental disorder, rather than encouraging you to spend more time with your kid or give you tips on discipline and nurturing. These fatalist voices will ever point to the easiest path as the only path, even though it ever leads to trouble and heartbreak, and even though the better path ever stretches out plainly before all. Even if you manage to surround yourself with wholesome people, at least open to the path less traveled, all of you still must deal with the ever-present onslaught of the media, education system, and government undermining any such choice. They proudly proclaim to be open to anything and everything, yet any talk of discipline or sacrifice, any mention of virtue or values will be dismissed or ridiculed. They will offer a prejudiced version of history that portrays our progressive present as infinitely superior to all past cultures. Even though every indicator of personal well-being drops every year, we continue down this dark path. Their hold on our children is nearly absolute, as the children, and most adults for that matter, are continually infused with it via 1,000 ever-present electronic devices. They have buried their heads in the sand. They are the defenders of a doomed culture, refusing to admit the blatant failures of a stubbornly self-destructive culture. And they, of course, are we, unless we make a decisive choice for the path less traveled.
So what is so attractive about our culture? While it is largely all most of us have known for a very long time. Certainly, that is not enough reason to mindlessly follow, come what may, is it? What carrot does it dangle before our noses to keep us moving down this broad path?
There is a common theme running through this disorder in our culture. It might be described as the promise that you deserve to have whatever you want and have it right now. This is childish thinking we were all supposed to grow out of by the age of 7. Or there's a related promise that you deserve a life without troubles. Avoid every trouble rather than deal with it. This very attempt only pulls down more and more problems down on top of us. Or there's the unspoken pact of our culture. The only rule in life is live and let live. Do whatever you want, as long as you don't interfere with anyone else doing whatever they want, including your children. How absurd to think a society's one value can be an utter lack of values. The only rule is no rules. Yes, this third one captures our culture's problem best. Don't dare question the views and actions of others, no matter how plainly self-destructive these are to themselves, their families, and greater society. No, close your eyes to the ramifications, so that you too can live a life unquestioned and unchallenged by anyone. So you too can avoid difficulties and responsibilities, even though this very attempt only pulls over more and more problems down on top of you. Viciously attack anyone who challenges your thinking and your behavior. Silence those prophets proposing a better way. Their very proposal is a capital offense. Indeed, the only one. Many believe this lack of rules is the foundation upon which they build their happiness. Many of these same people work very hard to convince themselves they are happy, or at least they will be happy as soon as they land that promotion or buy that new car. Many hide their hearts, even though plainly trying to fill the gaping hole in their hearts. And the more they buy into the promises of our culture, the more they fail to fill that hole. The more desperate they are to fill it with anything, though everything they choose only brings pain.
If you were privy to the deepest needs of the human heart, to what truly fulfilled and brought the human heart joy, peace, and belonging, what might you see? If you could see clearly all the things human hearts seek that only bring pain, fear, and anger, that are ever self-destructive, what might you see? Might you realize your priorities are sadly upside down? That the good you seek is undermining the good you need? The good that makes you fully human, fully accepted, fully loved?
As we explore the truth about family, as we seek family revelations, we must keep these basic questions in mind. Otherwise, the truth we find will baffle us greatly and leave us in a mire of despair rather than amid the flowering of hope.